In our AM 560 Weather Center, sunny and breezy today, a high of 61. Currently 40. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump, after a week of intermittent communication about his COVID infection, took the video one last time last night prior to going on a bit of a thank you turn to all of his supporters who gathered on the streets outside of Walter Reed, wishing him well.
We're getting great reports from the doctors. This is an incredible hospital, Walter Reed. The work they do is just absolutely amazing, and I want to thank them all, the nurses, the doctors, everybody here. I've also gotten to meet some of the soldiers and the first responders, and what a group. I also think we're going to pay a little surprise to some of the great patriots that we have out on the street, and they've been out there for a long time, and they've got Trump flags, and they love our country, so I'm not telling anybody but you, but I'm about to make a little surprise visit. So perhaps I'll get there before you get to see me. But I just, when I look at the enthusiasm, and we have enthusiasm like probably nobody's ever had. Our people that love the job we're doing, we have more enthusiasm than maybe anybody. So it's been a very interesting journey. I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school. This is the real school. This isn't the let's read the book school. And I get it, and I understand it, and it's a very interesting thing, and I'm going to be letting you know about it. In the meantime, we love the USA, and we love what's happening. Thank you.
And President Trump may be discharged from the hospital as soon as today.
Yep.
And so does this provide even more enthusiasm for Trump supporters and perhaps encouragement from those in the middle? You know, it's always interesting when somebody overcomes a challenge, particularly a health challenge, a serious health challenge, particularly for somebody who's 74 years old and overweight, let's just be honest. And if he comes through it the way that he seems to be coming through it, per all of his messages all weekend, actually, where he sounded quite good.
He looks good. He sounds strong. His voice is strong.
Maybe that will be encouraging not only for people in terms of support for this president, but also encouraging some people to be a little less paralyzed by fear with respect to COVID, despite the best efforts of the D.C. press corps to engender fear. Maybe, hopefully. And that certainly includes younger people. You know, this is a very volatile election. It's very strange, the numbers that President Trump, some of the indicators of numbers President Trump may be getting in terms of support from non-traditional Republican constituencies like Latino families and black families. What about younger people in general, students, college students or recent college grads? For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Charlie Kirk, founder and president of Turning Point USA, chairman of Students for Trump, and host of the newly minted Charlie Kirk Show, which premieres today across the Salem Network on AM 560 The Answer here at 1 p.m. Charlie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Dan and Amy. Great to be talking to you guys. Thank you.
So what about the people that you interact with as the head of Students for Trump and all the Turning Point USA chapters on campuses across the country? Where do you get the sense that that 18 to 25 demographic may provide a surprise, as some are suggesting Latino and black families may provide a surprise?
Well, it's hard to tell. There are two things I know to be true. The first of which is that Joe Biden will be unable to replicate the enthusiasm that Barack Obama had in 2008 and 2012 with younger voters. I can say it right here. Joe Biden will not have 2008-style turnout or support from younger voters. And I don't think he'll have 2012 style either. And so the question is, where does kind of Joe Biden land on the youth vote spectrum? I think the president's going to do very well with younger voters in certain states. I can say confidently the president will probably lose the youth vote in California and New York. But you take a state like Wisconsin or a state like Ohio or Pennsylvania, especially as a lot of these campuses are closed and on-campus voting is not happening. So for a lot of these Democrats, a key area of GOTV and voter registration and kind of running up the numbers in some of these states have been some of these massive Big Ten campuses, University of Wisconsin-Madison, Penn State University, even University of Illinois. And with these campuses being at 1/4 capacity and no events happening at all on campus and the voter registration deadline already being passed, we are seeing a lot of the Democrats' typical infrastructure kind of being put into question. I don't know how that will materialize politically, but I could tell you, being on the ground in 2016, these campuses were massive centers of Democrat activism. And now that that's kind of being taken off the kind of out of the equation, I can't imagine that'll be a good thing for Joe Biden.
That's actually a really good point. Just because at U of I mean, U of I, some of these college towns, you think, oh, well, they're liberal, so they're represented by Democrats. Not exactly. U of I plays a big role in Rodney Davis's election and re-election in Central Illinois. Rodney Davis, a Republican. That's been a close race, and it gets even closer in a presidential year. So without that presence there, that gives some swing Republican districts held by Republicans a bit of a leg up, like Rodney Davis. That's a salient point.
Thank you. Yes, and I think that. Sorry, go ahead, Amy.
Oh no, I was just going to ask you about just getting the young vote for Trump. I saw you out in Kane County, and I could not believe that thousands of people showed up. And what's the message that you're sending to the young generation?
Well, thank you. And first of all, I'm so proud to be from Illinois. It pains me to say that. I grew up listening to both you guys and listened to this station. As you guys talk about almost daily.
That means we're old, Amy. He grew up listening to us. Wow. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
The first time, I know.
There you go. But being from Illinois is something that I tell people all the time. It's a great place, and it's too bad what politics has done to, the incredible state of Illinois. And so I kind of look at, first of all, that event you mentioned, Amy, was unbelievable. It was in Geneva, 5,000 people easily, right? And I showed up. And I was somebody texted me beforehand. They're like, yeah, expect a couple hundred people. And I've never seen enthusiasm like that. So look, our message to young people is pretty simple, which is do you want to take responsibility for your country and for your life? And there's only really one political party right now that's going to tell you the honest truth of really what's happening for you being able to live kind of a normal life. And I use that term intentionally, kind of normal life, because Joe Biden and the Democrats, they will win the free stuff Olympics. They're going to promise more stuff than we will. We will be able to communicate a lot better to younger families and people that actually want to make something of their life. And so I think that has been a increasingly winning message, especially as we are seeing birth rates go down and marriage rates go down. A lot of young people are searching for a political party that will be able to basically give them promise and give them assuredness that they'll be able to kind of live the middle-class American dream again. Happy to build out that point more, but there's a lot of economic indicators that show that young people are less likely to kind of live that form and that lifestyle.
Just on campus, staying on campus for a moment, the larger question that transcends any presidential election, sort of trajectory culturally, because we've lost so many cultural institutions to the left, including academia. And I wonder, with the Turning Point USA chapters, what your sense is as to whether or not that they're having a real impact, not just in terms of allowing students who are dissidents, essentially intellectual dissidents, to congregate, but also presenting arguments that other students hadn't heard before. They didn't hear it from their parents. They didn't hear it in K through 12. And maybe they are starting to break through even with some of the professors who are also sort of oftentimes on islands on their own campus and developing relationships between people who actually do believe in pluralism, intellectual pluralism on a college campus. Are we seeing any material progress there?
Yeah, we are, and we're seeing thousands and thousands of people that message us and are part of our ranks that are former liberals and formerly on the left. And I commonly say that it's not that young people are opposed to our ideas, it's that they haven't been exposed to them properly in the first place. And Dan, you said it best. The other issue that we are finding a lot of success with, which is we should have a country where you shouldn't have to self-censor your political or religious beliefs. 71%, according to a Cato Institute poll, when young people were polled, said that they are afraid to express their political or religious beliefs. And they said if they do so, they believe they will lose materially. They'll lose their job, they'll lose their friends, they'll lose some sort of contract or relationship. That is a very disturbing and troubling trend, and the university campuses is the point of origination for that. And so a lot of young people are quietly upset about what we call cancel culture. I can't stand that term because I don't think it's complete and comprehensive enough, but that's kind of the best filler term that we have, which is basically it's societal punishment culture. Is that if you dare not say the dogma the way you're supposed to say it, we're going to make sure you suffer.
Yeah, so it's the purge is what it is. It's cultural gulags in lieu of on a path to potentially real gulags. But right now they're just cultural and economic in nature. And I hope that some people are starting to figure that out when they see people go down for expressing a legitimate point of view that just happens to disagree with the orthodoxy on campus or young people in the business world too. We've seen plenty of examples of that.
No, that's so. I think that if we are going to try to create a prosperous country for young people, if you do not have speech, if you don't have the capacity to discuss other ideas, you don't have a country. It's that simple. Then you're just going to govern people by force. There's only really two ways to organize every governmental system. Are you going to persuade people to give you power, or are you going to force people to give you power? And unfortunately, you see this recent college survey where 22% of college students, all college students, think it's acceptable to use violent force to try to silence views you don't agree with. And 65% of college Democrats say it's okay to shout or interrupt or use any means necessary to prevent conservative speakers from coming on campus. So you kind of play that out. What does that country look like 10 years from now? I mean, the answer is rather obvious. But if we don't get back to a country where you can have a marketplace of ideas, I'm afraid where that's going to head.
What are we looking for with the forthcoming Charlie Kirk show? It's going to be
1 to 2 right here on AM 560.
Like hip hop, hacky sacking. What do you
paint by numbers?
What do you kids do? Yeah.
Well, it'll be a little bit different of a show. We've been doing the podcast now for a year and a half, and it's been going really well. It's going to have a little bit more of a younger flavor in the sense of kind of what we're hearing and seeing on university campuses, and kind of an intergenerational kind of show where we're talking about what adults can actually do to try to leave a better country for my generation and our generation. And also we're going to kind of talk about it from a front lines perspective. I'm still traveling the country, almost in a new city every day, speaking at rallies, speaking at events, and kind of in the arena, if you will, especially this last big push before the election.
Oh, good. Hey, stick it to those baby boomers because they've been a real problem. So don't be afraid to go after them, even though they're your elders. Charlie Kirk, founder and president of Turning Point USA, chairman of Students for Trump, host of the Charlie Kirk Show, premiering today across the Salem Network and on our airwaves, AM 560, at 1 p.m. Charlie, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the program.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Famous conservative quotes presented by Automated Systems.
Here's a favorite Churchill quote. If you're not a liberal at 20, you have no heart. If you're not a conservative at 40, you have no brain. Are you listening, millennials?
Manufacturing companies, I encourage you to call my friend Laz Kulchar from